rule. Must 5-point scoring system. We'll see what kind of a first round Frazier has. He was hurt down in Kingston, Jamaica by Foreman right away. Buckner is more of a defensive specialist. Frazier's got to keep on the pressure right away. We'll see if he slows up a little bit and changes his tactics. He does not. He is forcing the fight right away, but it is Buckner who is scoring. Buckner has a fine left jab, and he hurt Frazier a little bit with it right there, too. He will flick it out. Keep your eye on Buckner's left hand. It is going to be his most important defensive weapon to keep Frazier away from him. Foreman, of course, was able to shove him back off when he tried to apply that pressure. Joe Frazier, one of the most relentless heavyweight champions we have ever had. And here in the first round, he is trying to apply it right away to Buckner. But it is Buckner who is finding the target very easy to hit, just as George Foreman did. That duck-down style of Frazier, trying to get inside. Buckner waiting for the target to move in. Early here in the first round.
Buckner starting very confidently indeed. That little flurry of lefts and rights. Never seen him start a fight as well as that. Very confident.
He has seen the films of the Foreman fight. He knows this man is easy to hit. Frazier, on the other hand, was convinced not only you sitting in the living room, but more importantly himself, that he has not lost it all. There are those who say that he was badly hurt in that fight against Muhammad Ali in Madison Square Garden. And if he was, what an ironic thing that that fight may have ruined both fighters, because Ali has not certainly been the same devastating force that he was that night either. One of the great fights of all time. And here it is Frazier wearing the bright pink trunks, Joe Buckner in the white with the blue trim. His country's flag down there on the left side, and his countrymen are cheering him on here in Earl's Court. Very pleased. Frazier did get inside a little bit. Buckner wants to slow up the action a little bit. That may have been one of the most effective lefts that Frazier has thrown in on Buckner's chin. Joe Frazier looking very clear-eyed. Buckner was scoring, but apparently was not hurting him. Frazier is a man who can take all kinds of punishment, as he has demonstrated time and time again. Well, every time, except for that one night against Foreman. Look at that exchange. Two heavyweights going toe-to-toe here.
Now, Buckner's got to get off the ropes, which he does. Harry Gibbs, the referee, very strong. Handles the fight well. 20-foot square ring. Perhaps a little bigger than you might expect Frazier would like. He might prefer an 18, but no, he asked for the 20-foot ring. So Buckner will need all of those 20 feet to try and escape from the trouble that he's in over there on that ring. He must stay off of the ropes and away from this relentless pressure, because Frazier will keep it up as Buckner comes in with a good left hand. There is that jab, just flicking it out. 23 years old, Buckner. He has already had 50 fights as the first round comes to an end here. The crowd roaring its approval, Adrian, because we got a very good start out of Joe Buckner. Just checking Buckner's eyes there, making sure there's no problems, but he certainly started well.
And the CBS Sports Spectacular will continue in just a moment. Start round two. Joe Buckner with a very surprisingly strong performance in that first round against former champion Joe Frazier. And again it is Frazier trying to get his head in on that chest, trying to go to work with that left hand. Buckner keeping away very well, tagging him with a couple of solid blows there to that very vulnerable chin. Buckner was cut by Muhammad Ali in the first round of that fight in Las Vegas, and then he hung on for 11 rounds.
In the clinches there, Frazier grinning. Bit of psychology. He's looking quite confident. It should suit Frazier, this kind of a bustling, fast fight. Buckner's got to jab him away and work him over from a distance. Getting involved close up too like this can't do him much good.
And again it is Frazier pursuing his prey from one end of that ring to the other. And in return, taking a great deal of punishment as that pressure must come. He has given away 8 inches in reach here to Joe Buckner. He has also given away 13 pounds in weight. Joe Frazier came to London with quite a thick beard. He has had to trim it down. The officials warned him. They didn't want him sticking his head in there in Bugner's chest and then perhaps irritating it by rubbing that chin up and down with the whiskers on it. So you are seeing a freshly trimmed Joe Frazier. And he is definitely trying to get inside, being a little bit more successful here in the second round. It may not look like much, but that is grueling punishment that Bugner takes there on the inside. That vital left hook that Frazier must have operating. Bugner putting up a fantastic defense so far against Frazier. Much stronger than Frazier anticipated.
Yeah, it looks to me as if Frazier, after nearly 6 months out of the ring, needed that first round just to shake himself loose a little. He's looking a lot more confident now. He's moving better, and you know, he's grinning, which is always a bad sign for his opponents.
You see the expression on Frazier's face. Now it is one of confidence. He has lasted that first round. So vital, since he was knocked down 6 times in his last fight, but Bugner got him in trouble over there. Frazier got himself stuck on the ropes, and Bugner applies some pressure. Bugner is not noted for his punch, however. There are those who say that he has one of the weakest punches of any of the contenders in the heavyweight division. And there was a time when Bugner could have used a little more punch because he had Frazier in a very, very vulnerable position. Look at that left hand.
Now, if Bugner keeps tossing left hands like that into Frazier's face, he'll do him some damage.
Flicking that jab out as Muhammad Ali did that night at Madison Square Garden. And that's the end of the second round. Joe Bugner and Joe Frazier continue their war.
Here's Bugner coming in the clinches.
That was the moment, Adrian, when Joe Frazier was wide open for an assault, and Bugner simply could not apply the pressure to it.
No, I think we're going to see that as it fight increasingly, that Bugner, though he's very solid, just doesn't have that finishing punch. He doesn't have that killer instinct for me.
Taking a look now in Frazier's corner. Yank Durham on the left-hand side of your screen is giving instructions. Here is a relationship in boxing that has stood the test of time, avarice, and everything else that heavyweight fighters fall prey to. Yancey Durham started Joe Frazier out in a gym in Philadelphia when Frazier just wanted to lose some weight because he was too heavy. Not only did he lose weight, he went out and won a heavyweight championship. But now he's trying to get it back from George Foreman. But first things first, Joe Bugner, who has put up a good battle here for the first 2 rounds so far of this scheduled 12-rounder. If you're scoring, the winner must get 5 points a round. The loser can get up to 4 3/4. Seldom does it fall below 4 1/2. And it is Frazier on the attack, just as he was in the first 2 rounds when he set the style that would be followed by both fighters. Bugner backing up, trying to flick that jab out. But Frazier has cut down the angle in that ring, and he is finding it a little bit easier now to get inside Bugner. Bugner's best round was the first. Frazier began to come on in the second round, displaying the same relentless pressure and optimism that you are now watching out there.
Pretty fierce pace for 2 men around 210, 220 pounds. They're not taking much of a rest so far.
Bugner, an interesting story. At the age of 6, he was forced to flee Hungary with his 3 brothers and sisters and his mother. He never knew his father. He came to England, was a champion discus thrower as a youngster. Turned to boxing when he found out that fighters make more money than discus throwers. And here he is with the European Championship in his pocket, and now he wants a shot at the big one. And going to work on Joe Frazier in the center of the ring. Can't say enough about Joe Bugner's courage. He has faced that pressure of Joe Frazier. I think that many of his countrymen somehow doubted what Bugner might do against a class heavyweight. They're finding out because he's not backing down. And neither is Joe Frazier. Both men came to fight. If this continues for 12 rounds like this, we're going to have 2 arm-weary fighters.
Good left by Frazier there. Rocked Bugner a little bit.
There's that blow. That left hook down low in the stomach area. Did it to Buster Mathis in 1968 in the Garden. Won the title when he stopped Jimmy Ellis. Now he's taking that punishment as Joe Frazier always must do. He will take 2 punches, just not moving out of the way so he can try to land 1 or 2. You'll notice his legs thicker than most heavyweights. He does not have the speed. It's a lot of raw courage on Joe Frazier's part. Perhaps never received the credit due him when he was the champion. That was because Muhammad Ali always got the publicity. Here in London, he has passed the time at night playing blackjack, listening to rock and roll music. He says he must work to a certain rhythm, and he is trying to use that rhythm of movement now against Bugner. But again, Joe Bugner has been able to keep him off as he does there with that left jab as we come to the end of the 3rd round here. And the CBS Sports Spectacular will continue in just a moment.
Honey, what are you...
It is legal in London, and there was a lot on this fight. Joe Bugner was 100-to-1 shot not to knock out Frazier in rounds 1, 2, and 3. We have now passed to round 4. Joe Frazier is a 4-to-1 shot to knock out Bugner here. They bet on rounds rather than the outcome of the fight itself. And almost every other store here in London is a bookmaker's stand. Adrian, that's got to be a big business here.
Yeah, and most of the fellas who make the money out of bookmaking also promote these fights.
Well, he's got a good one to promote now, a sellout at Earl's Court. And they are enthusiastic. They have witnessed 3 fine rounds, 2 hard-working heavyweights going at it. Bugner is a defensive fighter, but he will still stand and punch as he is doing there. Frazier trying to get some more sting into his punches. Bugner work over that head. Joe Frazier has taken a lot of punishment around that head area, but he just keeps moving in, letting the punches roll off. They have hurt Frazier a little bit that time. That was a very solid punch Bugner threw. Frazier's left knee buckled just slightly. Keep an eye on Bugner now. We don't know whether Frazier was hurt by that 1 punch, but his knee did buckle just a bit, and we saw Bugner's corner come alive. Frazier might find himself in a little bit of trouble. This is early in the 4th round, and he's taken a lot of punches around that head area already. That reach has given Bugner a tremendous advantage, and he's making the most of it here with these exchanges. And then he covers up, keeping Frazier's blows away from the head area, conceding the fact that Frazier is going to score down in the stomach.
Harry Gibbs warning about a low head. Bugner a little bit worried, I suppose, about his left eye. That head boring in there.
It's over that eye that Muhammad Ali opened up a cut that required 7 stitches. Watch the honest workman, Joe Frazier, fight his way back. Bugner has definitely taken some of the starch out of Frazier in this round. This is Bugner's best round since the 1st. No question about it. You can hear Frazier grunting now as he throws those punches. It's requiring more effort. The sweat running down his back. We're watching that eye of Bugner's. A little red, but not bad. Bugner finds himself in that ring area now. He will try to shove his way off.
Just 10
that was
seconds
a tactic that George Foreman used so well down in Jamaica. Frazier would come in and Foreman would push him off and then hit him with that right. We come to the end of round 4. Adrian, I know you've been keeping a round-by-round score, and how does it look to you so far?
I'd put Frazier a shade ahead, wouldn't you? I think he's landed more solidly and moved around better, I think, really. Bugner's put in some pretty tough shots. There's not more than half a point in the whole fight so far.
Well, again, repeating how they score here in London, in case you're doing it there in your living room. 5-point must system. The winner gets 5, but frequently the loser of a round will get 4 3/4. Seldom drops below 4 1/2. We've had no knockdowns so far in this fight. Joe Bugner came on very strong in the 1st round and was also terribly impressive in the 4th round with an exchange over on the far right-hand corner. Seemed to hurt Frazier a little bit. Took some sting out of his punches. Surprising maneuver there by Joe Bugner, who actually pulled his shorts down a little bit as he came out. Against a man like Frazier, you would think he would tug him up a little bit, because Frazier likes to go low, and sometimes he is warned by the officials to keep him up. Frazier comes out with a bull-like charge here in the 5th round. Despite the fact that he was knocked down savagely 6 times by George Foreman, he has come here with the same fight against Bugner. Pressure all the way. And he is applying it now. And I wouldn't be surprised if both of these fighters are just a little bit tired, even though we're in the 5th round. For heavyweights, they started very quickly. Bugner wants to convince his countrymen that he really is a legitimate contender. The most popular heavyweight in London remains Henry Cooper, and he's no longer active. There's some doubts about Joe Bugner. They were expressed in the newspapers, much the same way that the doubts about Frazier have appeared in the United States. Everybody seemed to think that he lost it all that March night in Madison Square Garden. Since then, he fought Terry Daniels, Ron Standers, 2 non-entities. After Stander, he then took on George Foreman, obviously overconfident and overweight, and lost his title. Now he looks very trim tonight. He certainly presents an inviting target.
Yeah, we saw the Frazier left going in there at Rock Bugner.
Bugner now is trying to swing out a little bit more with that left inside, trying to cover up as Frazier applies the pressure.
That's it. Bugner jabbing his way clear.
Bugner's best weapon, and he's got to keep it very active. Just watch that left hand of Frazier. Just keep your eye on it, because that's where the action's going to be when he fights. He uses the right as a decoy and a follow-up, but he'll do his damage with that left hand. He'll come inside to Bugner's right side. That's where he wants to apply it. He wants to get his head in on Bugner's chest and stay there. Bugner was much more active against Muhammad Ali. He did a lot more moving than he's doing here against Frazier. He's standing and punching. Good exchange. See now, both of them, when they get into clinches a little bit, they're showing tired movements, holding on much more than they did earlier. So a lot of this fighting is going inside. Not as glamorous, but believe me, it can be awfully effective. Can kill a man's spirit down inside. Frazier's got both of his arms down now. For a man who's taken that much punishment around the head area, he still appears to be in excellent shape. We're in round 5. Remember, this is a scheduled 12-rounder. And that's the end of round 5. Both fighters now looking a little bit tired, not getting as much action as we got in the first few rounds.
Pick up on the replay there. Attacked by Bugner, just missing with the right, but very quick. He's much livelier in the ring than I've seen him before. He's thinking quicker. A right thrown across there by Frazier. A lot of mauling and spoiling going on, but they've kept the pace of the fight up surprisingly well.
We take a look over at Joe Bugner's corner, and we will be back as the CBS Sports Spectacular continues in just a moment. This time, Bugner's corner tugged at his pants and tried to pull him up a little bit. I think that with these hot lights and all this work, that Joe Bugner is losing weight. See Frazier coming out at him. Bugner looking like he's going to get on the bicycle a little bit more. Maybe his corner said, look, you got to move it. He's coming after you. Frazier just immediately goes out and cuts down that ankle.
Bugner wheeling away around to his left all the time, keeping away from Frazier's left hand.
He's making Joe Bugner move clockwise in this fight, cutting off the angle to his left. And Bugner must stay on his horse and continue to move. And now the pressure is starting to come. Bugner, to me, looks more tired right now than at any time in this fight. This is the last round in which Joe Frazier was rated a 4-to-1 choice to knock Bugner out. Decent flurry there by Bugner, but Frazier comes up grinning.
This is certainly the toughest fight Bugner's ever had. I mean, a year ago it would have been unthinkable to put these two into the same ring, even into the same town. It's only the Foreman fight that turned everything on its head.
And from a standpoint of Frazier's career, this has to be the most important for him. A lot of people had doubts. But so far, we haven't seen that explosive knockout punch that Joe Frazier demonstrated so many times prior to that savage loss to George Foreman, where he would just spring out there and knock a man down. It has not been evident. He's been able to throw his left hand, but Bugner has stood up to a lot of punishment.
You must remember, Bugner's a very hard fellow to put down. In fact, nobody has. He's hard to get at. He's got long arms, got a huge reach.
He was indeed a difficult man to put down following his first professional fight, during which he was knocked out by Paul Brown, but he has learned a lot since then.
Listen to the crowd chanting, Bugner, Bugner. Sounds like a football crowd.
Little doubt about who is the favorite in this fight.
They're pretty good London fight fans, though. They'll cheer anybody who puts up a good fight. And they'll cheer for Frazier as well.
And Frazier in trouble over there on that rope. Joe's going to have to get out. The referee is letting him stay there. Frazier's either going to have to tie him up, push him off, or move out. Frazier's going to try to fight his way out with that left hand. Now they come free. Again, it's Bugner with that left hand to the head area. And it is Joe Bugner who's gone on the attack as the 6th round comes to an end. But what a great closing flurry by Joe Bugner against Joe Frazier here late in the 6th round.
The sad thing is, though, that there when we saw Bugner had got Frazier pretty well going on the ropes, he stood back at the crucial moment, just when he should have gone in. There's a left hook from Frazier, and another one.
Now watch that left hand of Bugner's. There he followed it up with a right, too. Now watch the activity as Bugner gets Frazier in a little bit of trouble there, close to the end of the round.
Really laid into him on the side of the ropes, but where he should have gone in and followed it off and got in some hard shots, he covered up and he stood back. He seems to have a mental block about finishing off a fight. But the crowd are with him, and the crowd can lift the fighter onto all sorts of undreamt of heights.
Now the long process begins to move on. We come up to round 7. Two fighters who have spent a lot of energy in the first 6 rounds, and this one started just like the other 6. Frazier on the move. Bugner rotating clockwise. But this is how the 6th round started, too. Frazier was able to apply some pressure, but then he foolishly got himself trapped up against the ropes. And Joe Frazier is a very tired fighter here. No doubt about it. It has taken a lot out of him. He's coming up with that left hand now to the head area. Now it is Bugner who backs himself into trouble. Just kind of bulls himself out. I'm not so sure that either of them have that knockout punch left right now. See, the arms on Bugner are starting to be carried just a little bit lower than they were when this fight first began. Frazier applying that left hand. I wonder how many times he throws it in the course of one fight. It's like a jackhammer.
Frazier's only ever done 15 rounds with Oscar Bonavino. It's the only time he ever really went the championship distance.
Had a great fight against Muhammad Ali in Madison Square Garden, in which they went the distance. He knocked Ali down late in that fight. And for the most part, Joe Frazier has been a knockout man. 5 opponents have fallen in the first round. Look at the punishment Frazier takes, trying to duck under it. Is he trying to convince the crowd or Joe Bugner that those jabs are not affecting him? Bugner, a very dangerous opponent, because he can look like he's very tired and has lost it all, and then suddenly he'll flick that left jab out, turn the corner and back Frazier up against the ropes. That's what he did late in the 6th round. Now both fighters are staying in much closer than they did in the first few rounds. Both of them considerably more tired than they were earlier. Frazier has got to bob and weave more. He's been holding that head there. It's much too big a target. Bugner has obliged by using it like a punching bag. Joe Frazier had 30 professional fights before this, and he had lost only the one. Can you imagine the wear and tear that he has sustained when he fights this way all the time? Standing in center ring and taking that punishment around the head area. But on the other hand, the diagnosis of Bugner as a fighter seems to be accurate. Lacks a knockout punch. Very brave, very defensive. Moves fairly well.
And he's got 6 years in hand as well.
As the 7th round comes to an end, and the CBS Sports Spectacular will continue in just a moment. We start round 8. Yancey Durham was over in the corner telling Joe Frazier to move that head more, bob and weave. Don't present such a stable target. Let's see if he follows that instructions as he comes in. Every round has been the same. Frazier boring in. Bugner with a counterattack. Frazier taking a great deal of punishment. Both fighters tiring out a bit. Yancey telling Frazier to move that head more, but still he's keeping it there. It is a ripe target.
There's no way you could say this is the same Joe Frazier who fought Muhammad Ali. He's just lost the edge of his aggression, hasn't he? He's not just coming forward so unstoppably all the time.
Well, there would certainly be a question about whether or not he lost his aggression the way he has pursued Bugner, but I question whether or not he still has that old knockout punch that he used to possess. When he took Buster Mathis that night in the garden, he just stuck it in there, and Mathis fell down like an injured whale. And here, Joe Bugner stood up to that vaunted left hand. There's no question about Frazier's courage or his will to put on a fight. He's not backing down from Bugner, just as he did not back down from Foreman the night he lost it. Had Joe Frazier that night gotten up and stayed away after that first knockdown, perhaps it would have been different. But on the other hand, if he did lose it that night against Muhammad Ali, it really would not have made any difference.
Now the right eye, as you can see, of Bugner has opened up. May have been a clash of heads, but just underneath that right eye, Bugner's nose also bleeding. Harry Gibbs may come across and look at it, but the right eye, no doubt about it, has been opened up.
Keep an eye on that now. That's going to be very important. The referee, Harry Gibbs, he's watching it very closely. Reported to be the best referee here in London. And as I watch him up in the ring, he's keeping an eye on Joe Bugner's right eye. And also the blood now beginning to trickle down from Bugner's nose. That is not the same spot where Muhammad Ali opened the cut. Muhammad opened the cut above the left eye. So this is a different injury that Bugner has to contend with. And it is a little bit better because it is below that right eye. So the blood that runs down stays out of the eye. Slight trickle of blood around the nose area. Frazier, of course, senses that he has his man in trouble. It is also red up above Bugner's left eye. You can see now the blood staining Bugner's trunks. So it begins to come down. That spot above the left eye is starting to open again, too. Now that could be very big trouble because that's the cut that Ali opened in Las Vegas. So Bugner now has a cut above the left eye and underneath the right eye. And Frazier has picked up the tempo of the attack to the head. There's that Joe Frazier pressure with the head in on the chest. He wants so very badly to walk out of here a winner tonight. And he has just finished the 8th round. He took a look at Joe Bugner, who is in trouble, serious trouble, for the first time in this fight.
It's only the second time he's ever been cut, and you can see the activity there in his corner. Wally Holland trying to put on a little styptic pencil there just to oil it a little and try and stop the flow of blood. But they're going to be very worried, especially with both eyes showing signs. Because Frazier will come in crashing and bashing in the next round to try and get up there and work inside, let his head just bump around a little. It's going to be quite a rough fight, I think, the next round. Disappointing if it finished this way. Cut eyes, I think, are always disappointing. It's always what finished off Henry Cooper. He had such fragile eyes that really put pay to his career.
Looking over in Joe Bugner's corner, the cut man working on him. Now he's above that left eye after you can see below the right eye. It is already turning a little black and blue as we start round 9. So Joe Frazier has 2 targets to aim for in this round. Left eye staying closed above it. That cut was worked on. Puffiness below the right eye of Bugner. Frazier, on the other hand, does not appear to have any marks on the head area, despite the fact that he has taken such a pounding. Never forget the night after the Ali fight. His face was swollen up underneath both eyes. Look at that jab. It's just amazing that any man can take the punishment that Joe Frazier does. Because he is small for a heavyweight, he must get inside to deal out his own form of punishment. So watching those cuts on Bugner's face.
He's got to jab him away. He's got to keep him at a distance. He can't let the fight tie up like this. He's got to keep moving.
Is Frazier looking very tired here in this exchange? You can see that puffiness. Bugner backs away. Now it'll be very interesting to see if Joe Frazier still has the knockout punch left. Always in the past, before losing that title, he could knock that man down with one devastating blow. But he has not put Bugner down, despite the fact that he has cut him twice. Once below the right eye and once above the left. And even against Muhammad Ali, he was able to deck him. And Ali has much more speed than Bugner. Watch the defensive Bugner now, keeping that right hand up high. He must protect that right eye area. Frazier got in a little low underneath it. Small trace of blood now in Bugner's left nostril. It's here where Frazier can do some damage. Inside. Bugner now, except for that one flurry earlier in this round, a little quieter with that left jab, not keeping Frazier away from him as he would like. Talk about an instant replay. Except for the tiredness of these two fighters, every round has been the same. As we come to the end of round 9, and we'll be back with the 10th round of this heavyweight fight between Joe Frazier and Joe Bugner as the CBS Sports Spectacular continues in just a moment. Start round 10. Keep a close eye on Bugner's right eye because it is underneath that where Bugner sustained a bad cut in the 8th round. He has been trying to protect it with that right hand of his. You keep the right hand up over on that eye. But it is very puffy underneath there. It could open up again at any moment. Now, of course, the question is whether or not Joe Frazier has the punch left to do it with. We're looking for that old Joe Frazier. The one who can put his man down with a combination. You can hear him grunting as he extends himself. Bugner, on the other hand, has had to go completely on the defensive because of those two cuts. And if the the fight continues at this pace, Joe Frazier is going to win a 12-round decision. He would like to end it sooner. Bugner, of course, keep hoping for a mistake, or just if he has the power to knock out a Joe Frazier. There you can see Frazier lashing out at that head area. The important thing to watch is underneath that right eye. That is the primary target now. Bugner just protecting himself, taking a great deal of punishment. It will be interesting to ask him to compare his experiences with Muhammad Ali against that of Joe Frazier. Lost that 12-round decision to Ali, but he was cut in that one in the first round. Here it was much later. Bugner has not been able to do much the last 3 rounds by the way of igniting any kind of an offense. Frazier. Oh, a beautiful left hand. Bugner is hurt. Oh, did you see Joe Frazier hold up? Now, that was remarkable sportsmanship on the part of Frazier because Harry Gibbs did not pull him off. Frazier saw that Bugner was in trouble. There is no mandatory 8 count. Here in the 10th round, Bugner may go down. Frazier knows it with the combination. Referee Harry Gibbs watching very closely. Bugner is in serious trouble. Does not appear to have much left at all. Frazier moving in now. But what an act of sportsmanship on Frazier's part. He eased up and let Bugner go down. The nose area now is starting to bleed again on Bugner's part. Joe trying to get it away. If you can knock him down, you are not saved by the bell. And there is no 3 knockdown rule. A man in London can go down 6 or 7 times, and if he comes back to his feet, and now it is Joe Frazier who appeared to buckle a little bit. As Bugner came back with a right hand. Did he slip or was he hurt? Did Frazier walk into a right hand? Now the trainer comes in. Now the referee separates and nobody heard the bell here ending round 10, including myself, as they continue to fight. Now, what happened to Joe Frazier? Was he hurt by that right hand?
This is the first replay as Frazier comes in with that left hook right on the point of the jaw. Gone absolutely, Bugner falling. Frazier comes away from him as Harry Gibbs comes in. At that point, it looked like Bugner was absolutely finished.
Over in Joe Bugner's corner. They're working him over, talking to him, telling him Joe Frazier was hurt near the end of that round when he tried to put you away.
That was sensational. It looked as if the bell was never going to go. And Andy Smith there, Bugner's manager, the little fella, came running in the ring. So did young Durham as well. They were both looking pretty worried.
The referee didn't hear the bell. We didn't hear it ringside, and certainly the fighters didn't. But now we're going to start round 11, and we've got 2 fighters to worry about. Joe Bugner's left knee buckled, and then he came back and he staggered Joe Frazier over on the other side. This is the same area where Frazier was hurt near the end of the 10th round. He is tired. The crowd sensing that Bugner can come back here in the final 2 rounds. Harry Gibbs trying to keep them apart, not wanting them to tie up. You're watching 2 tired heavyweight fighters. That left hand of Frazier still busy. There's the place where Bugner got in trouble and buckled and fell down. And I didn't give Bugner much of a chance at all to come back after that. He landed a good right hand.
It's a really great heavyweight fight. It's got everything. The speed, and above all, it's got a lot of courage.
You can see the exchange.
But look at Bugner's legs. Gone is all the pace. They're just weak at the knees, both.
There isn't much movement as these 2 heavyweights just stand out there and paw away at each other, trying to reach down for that just little bit extra. I can see just a small trickle of blood inside Joe Frazier's mouth. And so far since the 8th round, Bugner has been able to protect that right eye. Underneath, you can see the swelling. He'll have a shiner tomorrow. And he would also like to have a victory. And the crowd realizes that Frazier is in trouble, too. Frazier up against the ropes, not coming free. No question about it. Joe Frazier was hurt badly near the end of that 10th round. Crowd here wanting Bugner to put together just one more of those combinations, thinking they can do it. Now we see some swelling around Frazier's left eye. Badly swollen area now around Frazier's eye. It is beginning to close on him. Look at that left eye of Frazier's. That's where that jab has done most of its damage. Of the 4 eyes in that ring, 3 of them have experienced trouble in this fight. Bugner had a cut above the left eye. He was cut below the right one. Now it is Frazier's left eye that is starting to close here in the left round. I do not think I have ever seen such sustained action by 2 heavyweights as these 2 men are giving us here. With only 1 round to go in what has been a sensational heavyweight duel between Joe Frazier and Joe Bugner. There is Bugner's corner. First they look above the left eye. Now they go down underneath that right eye, giving him encouragement, telling him he's got a chance to win this fight. Okay, hold on, everybody. This is it. Round 12. We have got a heavyweight fight that is up for grabs. Joe Frazier appeared to have his man put away in the 10th round, but Joe Bugner came back with a devastating blow that put Frazier in trouble. The 11th round with just 2 tired fighters out there in trouble. Joe Frazier's left eye is almost swollen shut, and he goes on the attack here early in the 12th round. Bugner can just hold off for a little bit. Frazier will tire out. That at least has been what has happened in the last 2 or 3 rounds. Frazier has spent all his energy extremely early. Bugner was the only fighter who has been down, and it was after that knockdown that he came back. Look at that left hand. Has he got enough left here to flick it out and hurt Frazier in the 12th round? Again, it is Frazier inside. We must repeat, keep an eye on Frazier's left eye and Bugner's right one. This is it, round 12. Frazier must go all out to ensure himself of a victory. Bugner, on the other hand, has got to continue this comeback. What a heavyweight fight between these 2 men. Toe-to-toe from round 1 to 12. Tired a bit in the middle rounds and backed off. Many in this crowd of 16,000 on its feet cheering Bugner. He starts to rally here in the 12th. Frazier more and more has found himself in trouble on the ropes, has been unable to cut down the angle and get Bugner on the ropes. It has been Frazier who's had to backpedal a little bit in the last 3 rounds. Frazier's arms now are down, keeping his head in on his chest, trying to apply that pressure. Bugner's corner yelling at him to back off and use that jab and keep moving. He must stay away from Joe Frazier here in round 12. Frazier comes in again. 2 fighters who have taken incredible punishment here tonight and have given out the same. 2 brave heavyweights out there. The most important fight in either of their careers, and what a performance they're putting on. Again, it is Bugner who applied the pressure over there on Frazier. Frazier appears to be in trouble, and the crowd senses it a little bit. With 1 minute remaining in round 12, we are in the final minute of this fight. And if Joe Bugner has anything left at all, he can go to work around that head area. But look at Bugner. Both eyes are beginning to swell shut. Underneath the right one and over the left one. That's where those 2 cuts were. Frazier has trouble with his left eye. You can't see him now because his back is to you. What an exchange over there in the corner. We're down to about 30 seconds left in this fight. And it has been like this all the way. A tremendous battle between these 2 heavyweights. And right down to the end. Both of them just hoping that that one punch will put the other one away and ensure themselves a victory. We are inside of 15 seconds. Look at that. Frazier's left eye now is swollen completely shut. He has taken more punishment than at any time since Foreman knocked him out in that fight with Ali. Joe Bugner has put on a show. There it is. It's over. Joe Frazier didn't hear it as he threw that last punch. Yank Durham was out there to separate them. Joe Bugner giving Joe Frazier a dirty look. But to give Frazier his dirty, he really did not hear that bell. There's so much noise here that it would be almost impossible to hear what went on over that crowd. So certainly Joe Bugner needn't have worried, because even if he had waded back in, I don't think either of them had a punch left, Adrian. I have never seen two more tired and worn out heavyweight fighters who went the distance here. 12 rounds. Joe Bugner and Joe Frazier.